I'll send it to you.
Or actually,
I'm sending it to you on Slack.
Oh, there is that one though.
Yeah, but
That's a bit taller.
yeah, it's small. I doubt that. The two staples of the S are still there.
Your style. My computer. My parents should be on. I don't know if they figure out how to use it.
okay, everybody, we're going to get started. Thank you all for coming on behalf of Paulina and Alex. They're going to start with some information. So, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Okay, well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming. If you don't know me, my name is Paulina Gerguchis. I'm a junior chem bio major and I'm running for president.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I am not a freshman, I'm a sophomore mechanical engineering major. I am running for vice president of operations.
Okay, well, that's me. Okay, so in terms of SGA, some of the things I've been involved in, I was a first year senator back in 2020 to 2021, and I was in the public relations committee. I was in campus wellness, and then I was also a sophomore senator. So for my fall semester sophomore year, I was the public relations committee chair, and then I ended up running with Gab, and I'm currently the vice president of operations. In terms of like some of my other involvements, I am also on the varsity field hockey team. I am in a few pre-health organizations because I'm pre-dental, and I'm also in Stevens Thon. So yeah. Oh, okay. Here's some facts. If you follow our Instagram, these are all posts on our Instagram. It's at Paulina and Alex SGA 2023. So I'm from Washington, New Jersey. I love to travel. When I'm stressed, I go on runs, and I like to hang out with family and friends. Grand Vin is my favorite restaurant in Hoboken. I love Taylor Swift and Where You Want. Here are some pictures. Some of the people I love. Some places I've been. Some more cool pictures.
Cool. Okay, so my turn. That's me. Like I said, 2 out of 5 mechanical engineering. As for SGA, I started my first semester freshman year, so I've been in it since I joined Stevens. When I first joined, I was on the Rules Committee and the Academic Affairs Committee, so I did some stuff with that. I was also on the Elections Committee, so I helped ran the elections. Within that, I found some of my interest in SGA, one of them being organizations and overseeing club organizations. After my first semester, I became the vice president of student interest, which is the current position that I hold right now. So basically that just means I oversee all the student organizations and facilitate stuff like that, help answer any questions. So that's my current position. It's been a great learning experience from then. I've learned a lot about how the SGA works internally. I've met a lot of people in student life, other offices around campus, so I have a good connection between student organizations, the SGA, and that administrative level. So overall, SGA, something that I'm very passionate about. Other things that I'm involved in, not as extensive as Paulina's list, but I'm a tour guide on campus, and like I said, I'm a 2 out of 5, so I am part of the co-op program. I'm actually on co-op right now, so that's fun. Yep. And then 5 facts about me. I'm from East Hanover, New Jersey, so that's like 45 minutes away if you don't have any traffic. My hobby is woodworking, or one of my hobbies is woodworking. If you want to see my latest project, you could stop by the SGA office. I've been plugging that project for the last little bit here. Some stress reliefs that I do, I play music, specifically piano, bass, and flute, and I like to play funk, jazz, and ragtime. So if any of you like funk music, talk to me after. My favorite Hoboken restaurant is Margaritas, and my favorite artist is Wolfpack. And then here are some pictures of me. Oh, yeah, you can see my sign. a little bit.
It's also huge if you haven't seen it.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Context 6000, just say.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I know Alex discussed it a little bit, but one of the main reasons that I wanted to join SGA was because my first year at Stevens was a little weird. I came in during COVID, and my first SGA meeting was actually online, and I kind of just joined on a whim. I saw an email about it, and I wanted to just create more connections with upperclassmen and also just faculty and administration at Stevens. And I'm so glad that I ended up joining because I was able to meet so many people and make so many great connections, learn more about the university that I love, and also now it's led me to run for president, and I am very grateful for my past year as VPO, especially with working with Gab. Gab is someone I look up to a lot. She is probably knows the most about Stevens out of anyone ever, I would say, and I've just learned so much from her, and I'm really excited for this position.
Yeah, so ditto to what Polina said about Gab. Also great inspiration and has helped me learn a lot about student government. As for why I joined SGA, I did do student government in high school, and it was something that I loved to do and I was very active in, so I wanted to continue that here at Stevens. But also other reasons besides doing it previously, it's just a great way to get involved with the community. Student government, especially now, this last semester, this last year, we have placed ourselves in so many different aspects of campus, and we're looking to incorporate ourselves into even more aspects of campus. So if you really want to be able to dip your toes into all aspects of college life, specifically at Stevens, student government here is a great way to do that. So that's one of the reasons that I joined. And then also, obviously, by being in student government, you're able to help so many people. You're able to advocate for the student body. There are a lot of people that are afraid to use their voice or maybe aren't so comfortable going out and making the changes that they want. So to be able to do that for them or advocate for them and see that change come to life is something that is very rewarding. And the process of getting from just an idea to actually coming to fruition with your idea and having it come to life is a very fun experience, and it's something that you're proud of in the end after seeing it. So I enjoy those feelings, and that's something that told me to join SGA.
Okay, so when Alex and I decided that we wanted to run, we sat down and we came up with some goals that we wanted to focus on. So quickly, there's community outreach, sustainability, mental health, and Stevens Pride. So we'll go a little bit more in depth on what each means to us. So in terms of community outreach, in the past year, one of our goals in our past cabinet was to create more connections and work with more organizations on campus, so co-sponsor events and just increase our visibility overall as a student government. And we want to expand this even greater into the Hoboken community. I think there are more places that we could be more present as a university, and by getting more involved within this community, we can create a greater network and a more unified campus-city relationship. And we also want to hold bigger events within Hoboken that'll accomplish this goal.
Moving on to the next one, sustainability. This is something that we've started picking up fairly recently. Overall, just in the world, sustainability is something that we're trying to move forward as a society. You could look at the United States, for example. We're pushing towards electric vehicles, more recycling, stuff like that, trying to go green with our energy production. It's important that as a university, as the Innovation University, as a university that prides ourselves in what we do, it's important that we stay on top of ourselves and we hold ourselves accountable for sticking with the rest of society when it comes to sustainability and everything else related to green, just green in general. So something that we want to do is really push the idea of sustainability. We want to make sure that we're not lacking in any ways on campus. So for example, whether it be through recycling or through composting or through thrifting, other ideas that we might get into a little bit later. But just overall, we want to become a more sustainable campus, and we want our community as a whole to become more sustainable and more focused on sustainability and more educated on how we can be more sustainable.
So one of our third goals was mental health. This was also a previous goal from our last cabinet. The reason we decided to include it is because we have had a lot of efforts to just open up the conversation about mental health, and I think mental health is something that we shouldn't stop talking about. since it was last cabinet school, like we should just continue it on and continue to place an emphasis on why it's so important. We want students to understand like the resources that are available. We want to be able to promote more events for mental health like we did last semester, and overall we just want to make sure that we haven't forgotten our goal.
And then our final big goal, overarching goal, is Stevens Pride. So when you are in high school and you're looking at colleges, there's this like exciting rush, this kind of feeling in the air like you're going to college, it's a new step in your life. Part of that feeling comes with the college experience, as a lot of people say. It's important when you go to school that you're able to have that fun, that you're able to go out to events and you're able to feel part of a big community. And while there is a community here like that at Stevens, we want to just make that even bigger, even better. So just really making sure that every student here is able to confidently say that I feel part of a community that is happy where they are, is prideful where they are, stuff like that. So we want to like have more events co-sponsored with maybe athletics or things like that, or big Stevens events where we can come together as a community and really just show our pride in that sense.
Okay, so this will be the section where you guys can ask us questions. We also have a live stream going and a form that had questions on it, so do you want to start?
Yeah, and I have plenty of mine.
I was gonna say, Gab probably
Don't
came up
worry.
with the video.
I want to be prepared for the lull, yeah?
Thank you.
Okay, so I appreciated being asked this question, so I'll ask you. If you could snap your fingers, what would you change on campus right now? On campus.
You want to take the start now? All right, I have one.
Yeah.
I remember.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, so we recently had a town hall with Sarah Klein. She's the Vice President of Student Affairs at Stevens, and this question was brought up, and Gab stole my answer. But if I could snap my fingers and change one thing, it would be the sustainability aspect of it. So I can't snap my fingers and change it, but what we can do is we can work towards that goal. So rather than snapping our fingers, what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a whole plan, a whole list of events and educational series that in the end, hopefully by the end of it, or at least like progressive throughout our term, we will see our campus community shift towards a more sustainable mindset. And I truly think that we will be able to accomplish that. A lot of people on campus, not even in the SGA, are looking to be more sustainable themselves, so we already have a good ball rolling. Could just push it a little bit more. But yeah, if I were to snap, it would be sustainability.
I think I have mine. So I feel like consistently at Stevens, there's like a select group of individuals that are like constantly participating and getting involved. I want there to be a way that we can have like the individuals who like tend to keep to themselves, like find outlets to like get involved and just like create like a greater presence of student involvement, because I've discussed this with some other student leaders on campus, but like we always joke how there's like this 10% that it's always the same people doing the same thing. So just kind of sharing the wealth a little bit, maybe putting like a program in place to like recruit more individuals.
I have specific questions for each of you, so Paulina first.
Sure.
How will your experience in SGA help you in your role, considering you've been around for a bit of time now?
I think my most like valuable learning experience again was like this past year on cabinet. I learned so much more internally about how Stevens works, how our SGA works as a whole, and I think all those experiences will help me to lead our student government. I also think having people I can lean on is super important. Alex has been on our previous cabinet. Gab's not leaving. We have a lot of more experienced senators, so I think also just being able to work with our up-and-coming student government.
Okay. Alex, why are you interested in taking on such strong roles so early in your college career?
Good question. One of the reasons that I like taking on the bigger roles, I guess you could say, is the responsibilities that come with it. Maybe it's weird, but I love having responsibilities and things to do, things that like I have to work my way towards. I really enjoy the process of having a goal and then working towards that goal. And when you're in a higher position, I guess, you're able to kind of set those goals yourself and then work towards them yourself. So, for example, with Vice President of Student Interests, when I took on that position, I came up with some goals. I worked with the rest of the cabinet to create some goals, and I'll use an example to walk through this. So, in the organization directory that we put out, that was one of my goals that we did. I was able to set that goal. I was able to set stepping stones, hitting points that I should do. I was able to actually hit those goals, those mini goals, and then eventually we created the organization directory. That whole process of being able to create the goal, create the steps for the goal, kind of distribute tasks to other people, that's something that I just personally enjoy. So being able to go into the leadership position like that and do it is something that is genuinely interesting to me. And then I guess to add on to that, being in a little bit of a higher position, you're able to do a little bit more, and that comes with the connections that you make. Like, for example, anyone on cabinet has more connections with offices, and that's just because we work with them so frequently. So I have a lot of connections with the Office of Student Life, so that helps me facilitate a lot of my other goals that I want to do. So it kind of just all comes together that it's something that I enjoy, and it also helps me do the things that I'm passionate about.
Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask? I can keep going. Jared.
I feel like in the Senate, we often hear updates from Gab where she had to put her foot down on something. How do you guys feel like you have that ability to put your foot down and maybe yell at somebody if they need to be yelled at?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I'm definitely, me and Gab always joke that we're good cop, bad cop. But I think in terms of putting your foot down, it's just about accountability and respect. So if I'm going to put my foot down over a decision, I just want to make sure that the individual understands why and that both sides are heard. But I wouldn't say I think I might not yell at someone, but I might pull them aside and speak to them one-on-one. So I think I just have a different approach.
I'll add on to that. With our current student government, we have a lot of senators now. Our freshman, sophomore seats, they're all filled up. We're getting new juniors in this vacancy election. We have a lot of people that want to participate in student government, and sometimes there are people that get into student government that are here just for the resume or that are here because whatever they want to show it off, and they don't actually do stuff. I am very adamant about the fact that we do not have space for those kinds of people, and that if we need to remove those people from student government, that's what we will do. We have a very strict set of guidelines and rules that we have to abide by because without them we can't function. So I kind of stick to that philosophy that if we don't follow our rules, we're not going to function. So if it comes to the case where we need to make a decision in the event where someone needs to be removed, for example, I am very comfortable with that, taking that on. Like I said, our student government has grown so much, so we need to make sure that we are in that position where we can make those decisions. Otherwise, we're going to lose our progress that we've made.
Something that you mentioned that I want to ask you to expand on is accountability. So how do you plan on holding each other accountable, holding your senators accountable, asking people to hold you accountable?
Well, I think it starts off with honestly the bare minimum, showing up to things, and even just events like these, that's not always enough. As VPO, something that I started doing was I started meeting with a senator every week just to get to know them and see what they're working on. I think sometimes, especially when you're new to the student government, you might not really know where to start. So I think it's important to just at least offer all the tools that you can give so people know where to start and what they can do. But then at a certain point, if individuals still have all the tools and they're not doing anything with it, it's important to talk to them, and potentially oversight also would have to make a decision on if individuals weren't doing work for the student government. But I think, just definitely making sure everyone knows the tools that they have available and then going from there. And also in terms of keeping us accountable, I think sometimes senators don't realize how much power they have. Again, obviously we're voted in by the student body, and then we'll appoint our cabinet, and then the senators will actually approve our cabinet. So I'm not saying, obviously we interview and we think through who our cabinet is, but hypothetically, anything that anything that I was to appoint could get denied by the Senate. So I think senators just being aware of like the responsibility that they have and how much power they have is really important, because there's like a system of check and balances. It's not everything that the cabinet says.
Yeah, and I think also a big part of that is having clear communication and being transparent with everyone. As a cabinet this past year, we were very transparent about what we were working on. If any updates came up that we could share, we would definitely share them as soon as we could. So continuing that trend of being transparent and having clear communication between the cabinet and the Senate is something that we want to do in order to make sure that we have full trust going both ways. As a cabinet, we want to know what all of our senators are doing, what initiatives we're working on, but it also goes the other way, where our senators should know what the cabinet is working on, how we're proceeding, if there's any big news that we need to be sharing. So that's something that I think if we are able to have trust in each other and be transparent, ideally, naturally, that accountability will fall in. But in the event where, someone is not holding up their end of the deal, like I previously said, I mean, we have people that are interested, and if we have seats that are being misused, we will redistribute. As for holding each other accountable, just kind of reiterating what Paulina said, we'll stay on top of each other. We have our systems of checks and balances, so it's not like we have all the power in the world. Senators do have their power. We can be impeached at any time, and I support the impeachment process, right? If a senator thinks that one of us is doing a bad job, they should most definitely bring it up and talk about it and bring it to the committees that decide that. It's important that the senators know that they have their power to make a change, that it's not just us.
And like, I also urge everyone to if you feel that people aren't being transparent in their processes, just ask. You can set up meetings. I mean, I feel like as a cabinet, we try and ask our senators, like if they're doing something, like we try and have them be transparent with us, and we would hope that the same would go for the cabinet. So if there's any questions on things that are going on, you can always set up a meeting, you can always ask. Don't think we're just like holding things from you for no reason.
Yeah. I guess more to pinpoint my question from earlier is, how do you think accountability expands beyond the Senate and holding administration accountable for things that they say they can do, even though we don't have power over them?
Yeah, so that's a good point. As a student government, a lot of what we do relies on the administration in order to get our stuff done. Because a lot of time there's approval that needs to happen, or we just need to communicate with administration, get their point of view on a certain topic that we're working on, whatnot. So it is important that we have administrators be active in what we're doing. Recently, I guess we had some issues with certain administrators not holding up their end of the deal, so we tried to be direct about it. Or rather, first thing we try to do is just talk about it amongst ourselves, see what we can do, what would be the best course of action, because it's not a very easy thing to do with administrators and faculty and stuff like that, because they are like at a higher level in Stevens, so it's not as easy as like say in student government, if someone's not holding up their end, we could just impeach them, right? It doesn't work like that. So we try to think of the best possible course of action. Usually the first step is just talking with that person if we can, saying like, hey, just following up on this, stuff like that. If that's not working, then maybe we'll talk to someone else, a colleague of that administrator or faculty member, to kind of get their perspective on it. And in certain cases, if we have to go to a different administrator, or if we have to change the way that we communicate from student government to administration, we will do that.
Yeah, I think something important to recognize too is that like we are students, so sometimes unfortunately we're not able to always get the outcome that we want, and it is hard to hold people accountable if we are technically below them. But as Alex said, same thing, just making sure that we're doing everything in our power to just take the steps to at least try and hold them accountable, and also just having that conversation with them is, I think, always the first step, because typically they're not unreasonable people. They're here for the students and they want to see us succeed.
To kind of switch gears a little bit, you guys mentioned that mental health is one of your initiatives.
is there a specific like mental health resource that you'd like to either push more, like something that we already have, or if there's something that we don't have that you're kind of hoping like to bring to campus throughout your term?
I think something like, I know we always discuss CAPS, but I think a lot of people don't know, like there's just like there's always gonna be there's been a stigma around mental health for so long, and I think people don't realize like how easy it is to just like go to CAPS and how helpful they are there. So I would want to push for more of like a peer mediation, or like similar to the course that the other, what's the course that they were? Sorry. Yeah, the mental health first aid. I want there to be a way for peers to be able to get more involved within the CAPS process. So there's a course, mental health first aid, with CAPS. So I think just more opportunities for peers to get involved, I think will help students open up more and destigmatize mental health a little bit.
Yeah, and then also just kind of hosting our own events and programs in order to push those mental health resources out there. I know currently right now in our Senate, our Campus Wellness Committee is planning to do mental health resources every month, going out on a flyer. They're doing a mental health wellness event at the end of December, in the middle of December. So we're already it's already a goal that we've had, we're just continuing it. So more of the same stuff that we're doing, and then also pushing out those CAPS resources, working with CAPS, potentially even holding a mental health day, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the important thing with like mental health initiatives is more so like it doesn't always have to be like such a huge grand event, but like smaller events throughout the year just for that constant reminder.
Maybe.
So, kind of switch a little bit. How would you guys describe your leadership styles in terms of how you kind of deal with internally, right? Because a lot of what we've been talking about is kind of external, our goals. When you guys talk about, you guys are leaders of the Senate, how do you guys feel like you interact with other senators? How do you guys feel like you lead? And how do you guys think that together you guys, I guess, cooperate or coordinate in your leadership styles?
I would say for me personally, I think I lead a bit more by example. I'm definitely I'm more than comfortable public speaking, but I think, yeah, just leading by example, and also I really like to speak to people one-on-one. I think I connect with them more in that level. And I think in terms of Alex and I, we've had a good relationship since since Alex has been here in the SGA. I think we bounce ideas off of each other really well, and we typically agree on most things. So I think just continuing that relationship and that good energy.
Yeah. For me, I would also say that I think I lead by example. If you come to a Senate meeting and you look at my slide, you'll always see that there's so many different things that I'm working on and that I'm passionate about and that I show my passions for, and I hope that by seeing that I'm passionate about it and working on it, other people kind of take that idea and run with it, or see that all the work that I put into the stuff that I'm working on and kind of catch that vibe and put the work into their initiatives and stuff like that. So in that sense, I'd say I lead by example. And then as for leading a group, in my experience, I have generally led in not one-on-one, but overall bigger groups. So as VPSI, I've put on events such as Student Org Night and the Flock Party, Admitted Students Weekend, other events like the Spring Org Fairs. A lot of those were me directing to a bigger group of people, so I have a lot of experience in that regard. And then as for one-on-one, not necessarily at Stevens, but in previous organizations and roles that I held in, say, high school or whatever, I have had that experience where I've worked in smaller groups, not as much as larger groups, but I'm definitely willing to learn, and I think that's part of the process of taking on a new role. I'm not going to go into it knowing everything about the role and the best way that it'll work for me, but as time goes, I'm sure that I will learn the best way that works for me. With Vice President Student Interest, right, I got that position my second semester. I'd only been in SGA at Stevens for one semester, so I obviously wasn't that experienced in Stevens SGA, but I think at this point, as VPSI, I have accomplished a lot of the goals that I've had. I've set up good relationships with student organizations and continued previous relationships that we've had. So I think overall I will learn how to adapt to my position in that regard. And then as for Polina and I, just this reiterating, we generally have the same like mindset on ideas, but we're also not afraid to like come at each other with different perspectives. If one of us has a different opinion on it, we'll voice that opinion. It's not just like, oh yeah, okay, we'll go with that. We want to explore every possible avenue, so that way we're not just going with the first thought that pops into our minds, because usually that's not the best idea. So we're not afraid to, like, if I come up with an idea, Polina will challenge it, vice versa. So yes.
I think also something important to mention that Alex and I have discussed about this past cabinet is, even though we have our like respective roles, we're not afraid to like give input on what someone else is working on. And I think just that fluidity within our cabinet is what helped us like grow and learn so much as leaders and in our experience in the SGA.
I have a follow-up question on that for Alex. What do you think the hardest part of transitioning from such an external-facing role to an internal-facing role will be? Because you previously worked with over 150 organizations that each had 6 leaders, and now you're focusing on 50 people.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be a big change going from VPSI to VPO, because if you're not familiar, Vice President of Operations, their main goal is to uphold any responsibilities that the President can't do at the moment. So anything that the President needs help with, that's the VPO does. And then also the VPO is the main liaison between the Senate and the Cabinet and kind of just overseeing the Senate, stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot different from what I've previously done. It'll be a change. Like I said, I'll get used to it. I like to think of myself as a very quick learner, and like I adapt to things. I've taken on a lot of new roles in SGA and like did a lot of different goals and worked with a lot of different people that I had to adapt to in order to work with. So I think in that regard, I should be fine adapting to the new position. But also overall, I've spoken with other student governments at different student government conferences, or whether it be through email. So I kind of got an outside perspective on how they lead their senates. So I'm going into this role, I'm like taking into account what Polina has done in her role as VPO this past year. I've noted like the way she's led it, how I'm going to incorporate some of her methods into my leading. I've looked at other student governments, like I just said, about how they've led their specific senates. So going into the role, into the position, I'm kind of trying to piece together how I think I'm going to do it, and then once I actually get into it, that'll be when I truly find the way that works best for me.
Okay, so follow-up question on that then. Paulina, what is the best piece of advice you can give Alex as like the exiting VPO? So like VPO specific,
Yes.
hypothetically.
Okay, this is gonna be kind of like almost funny. Like, don't be afraid to like challenge me, like as president. Like, I think the important thing to recognize about the VPO president relationship is that like I want to know your opinions. Like, I obviously chose Alex for a reason. I think he's very qualified, has done a great job in the SGA, and I want to know your input. And in terms of like actually like leading the Senate, making sure that like your senators like feel valued and also just like know the tools that they have and how to use them. Cool. So like one-on-one meetings.
Sounds good.
So I don't have any questions. Nick.
I have a question. From myself and an SGA alum, actually, what part of a salad would you say you are?
Actually, I can cross that off my list now.
Do you know?
Yeah. Okay. Wait, I think I know what this is. So basic. Okay. I think the crouton. I don't know. I think the croutons are the best part of the salad. Nothing. And I don't know. I just love croutons. And they add like a little bit of something extra, you know? I don't know.
Every time this question is brought up, I always sat there and could never think of an answer, but I'll say a controversial answer. I'll say the tomatoes. Yeah, see, a lot of people don't like
You sure you
tomatoes.
don't want to
I
pick
like
someone new?
I love tomatoes. So here, you know what? This is how I'll back my argument. A lot of people don't like tomatoes. I like tomatoes. I'm not afraid to say that I like tomatoes.
He likes tomatoes and he's proud.
I like ketchup. I wouldn't put ketchup in my salad, but like I'm just saying, like I like all things tomatoes, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Wait, I have a question. Cherry tomatoes or just normal tomatoes?
Probably cherry tomatoes in
Okay.
a salad, yeah. But I like regular tomatoes too.
Okay, good, yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Say it out, so. Okay. What do you think the biggest, I don't want to say issue, but like the biggest downfall or pitfall of the SGA is currently?
Okay. So it's like a little bit opposite to last year, I would say. Last year, we had a much smaller Senate, and we completely lacked visibility on campus. This year, we have much wider Senate, like greater Senate. We also had competition in our like race, which is like crazy. Hasn't happened in a really long time. But I think with that comes like, as Alex was mentioning before, like people who are here for the wrong reasons and taking spots away from people who wanted to be here. So I think, yeah, having too many people, but like that aren't really participating.
Yeah, I would agree. At our most recent student government conference, this topic came up. What were your individual student governments struggling with most? And a lot of the other student governments at other schools were struggling with getting people involved in their student government. We kind of started to tick that off this last year, which is awesome, and we're planning on continuing to fully tick off that box. Hopefully we can get a full Senate, ideally, that would be awesome. But with that comes the accountability aspect, like Paulina was saying, so I would say that is our biggest like concern internally as an SGA, but as to Jared's question earlier, we're working on ways to make sure that we have that accountability. We are keeping interested people in SGA and getting rid of any non-interested people, so.
On that sort of similar token, what happens, so our younger classes specifically are at capacity. How do you make sure that you have the best people of those classes sitting in this room?
Okay, so I think a lot of this also lies on oversight. So for those who aren't in SGA, oversight is our committee that basically there's someone from each class here that is represented, and basically they will go through attendance. So we have an allotted of 4 absences, absences per semester, and also you need to be working on an initiative. So I think in the past we've been a little bit lax because again we didn't have the numbers. I think now that we do have the numbers, just making sure that like if we need to remove someone that we are going to, and also before, like obviously we're not just going to remove people immediately, but making sure we're meeting with them, like with those individuals one-on-one, and just like see what's going on and why like they aren't doing anything, or why they are missing so many meetings. So making sure that like we're able to hold them accountable in the correct way.
Right, and then also it's not just up to Paulina and I to like make these decisions. We have a whole entire Senate, a whole entire student government, so senators are also allowed to like give constructive feedback to their peers and to their other senators. If they feel that a senator in their class is not holding up their end of the deal, they are more than welcome to and encouraged to go to the oversight committee and talk to them about it. And we'll make sure that from our position, we encourage like speaking out and making sure that you're holding your peers accountable and your fellow senators accountable. So in that regard, like it's not solely on us to do it. We will keep an eye on it, of course, but we also want to make sure that everyone else knows that they have an equal power to use their voice if they think that someone's not holding up their end of the deal, to say something about it, because it's not just us that want to see student government succeed. Everyone in Senate wants to see it succeed. Everyone wants to see SGA flourish and grow and become this amazing thing that it's starting to become right now. So with that, everyone I think has the opportunity to kind of look to see how we're doing, and if we're not doing the way that someone wants to do, talk about it.
I also want to shout someone out. I want to shout out Nick Smith, because last semester we had an option for Zoom attendance, but I mean, for the people who've been on Zoom during our meetings, like it is almost impossible to hear anything going on. So there was a lot of senators that just like were on it and like were half paying attention, if they were paying attention at all. And Nick brought that up in a meeting, so he was holding his fellow senators accountable, and then we ended up bringing it down to 2 Zoom like attendances per semester, because again, like, we really want our senators and our members to be present and know that, like, you aren't binded to be here. Like, we obviously want you here, but there are other people who also want to be here, so making sure you're fulfilling your role.
On the opposite side of that coin, we don't have a lot of students in our older seats. So do you think that the issue is retention, or do you think that the current issue is just finding older people, and how do you intend on alleviating some of that?
Okay, so obviously I'm an upperclassman, and there were many senators that came in with my class, but they all decided to leave. I mean, we were online too, which makes it a little bit difficult. I don't think the issue is retention. I think it's more so how the SGA was left in the past. I think in terms of recruiting, again, I know I mentioned earlier if I had one wish, it would be to get more students involved, but I think reaching out to the student leaders that are already involved that are upperclassmen, to get them involved in the Senate would be like one of my first steps. So hopefully we'll get more members through that.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it's a retention issue. I know all the senators in my class, excuse me. Okay, I didn't know if I had to sneeze or not. I don't.
I don't.
Thank you. All the senators in my class and the class below me are very passionate. I could see it, so it must have been. God, I can't. I like have to, then I don't. Okay. Sorry. As I was saying, my class senators, class below me, everyone is very dedicated. Even the junior class senators that we have right now and the one senior senator that we have now, all very dedicated to the cause. I think.
3. There's 3.
We have 3 seniors.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lumped you and Ben in with juniors for some reason. My bad. So all the 3 senior senators we have are very dedicated, so I don't think it's a retention issue. I think it's find people that are interested, and as for how to find it, to what Paulina said, and as we're making more of a presence, I think people will naturally start to come to us.
Also, the fun thing is when you grow up, you move up in class here too. So next year we'll have hopefully still a lot of junior senators.
True.
Does anyone have any questions? Nick?
I actually do. So we currently don't have a parliamentarian, and we're about to lose our lovely Constitution lady, which makes me very, very sad. But those are 2 very, very important roles. Do you have any plans to fill them? Or anyone in particular? You don't have to say, but do you have any like kind of strategy or plan to put someone in those roles?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we want to fill every position, especially like a position like parliamentarian, or eventually when Elena goes, speaker as well. I think hopefully I would want to rely on like someone who's been part of the student government a little bit longer. Even like if the first year senators, like the current first year senators that are still involved, just talking to them a little bit more about it. Potentially I feel like someone in rules would be a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's. I would love someone to step up and be parliamentarian, but we could like talk to people in rules maybe
Try and recruit
talk
someone.
to some senators. We'll try to recruit someone.
Anyone have any questions? Jared?
I guess this question is more specifically for Alex, but how well do you get along with your roommates? I don't know who they might be.
How? Yeah. Me and my roommate have a hatred feud. No, my roommate's sitting right there, for anyone wondering. We're very good friends. We went to high school together. We've been like best friends for the last year or so. I mean, we're good friends. I'm friends with my other 2 roommates. What?
You know, no, you don't, right?
Well, he's like, I think so there.
I'd like to just add on. Vouch.
Thank you, Ben. Yes, and then my roommates from last year, Ben was one of them, but I have 2 other roommates that I'm still friendly with. One of them is also another one of my very close friends. So. You know my other roommate. Okay. Does that answer the question?
You want to know about my roommate situation?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Okay, well, I have 3 roommates. One of which I brought to Greece, so I would say that we're pretty close friends. The other one's on my field hockey team, and the other one is on the softball team. Fun fact, I actually stole one of Gab's roommates.
True story.
So, I'm friends with all my roommates.
Is there a follow-up to that question? Does anyone have any other questions? Pick from my list there. When will Moneybags have fun-named friends?
Ooh, okay.
When will you have friends with fun names like Moneybags?
For those of you who don't know, last year at our
She's
Senate
switched to that.
retreat,
She's like,
yeah, she's back. At our Senate retreat, our previous vice president of finance, we were like just getting name tags, and she wanted to spice things up a little bit, and she was giving us an adjective, like in the like just to put on our name tags, like with our name, but like same first letter. Little alliteration action. So Michelle was Moneybags Michelle.
she alliterated?
Alliteration action. It's alliteration.
Oh.
It's good stuff.
But yeah, it just stuck. So now we just call her Moneybags. I don't remember anyone else's, but I mean we could do that at the next.
Mentor-mentee, we could do it.
Oh yeah, we could do it for mentor-mentee. We could do it for next Senate retreat if that's something you guys are interested in. I mean, if you want like a nickname now, like I could probably come up with it. Just let me know. But,
I'd like one by the end of this meeting.
okay, Glorious
Same
Gab,
here.
got it. Same here.
Bye,
Okay.
Sanjana.
Come on.
She has to run away. Okay. Do you have any events planned to promote your goals, or what types of events would you like to play?
No events planned.
0. Got
Just
it.
kidding.
Moving on.
No, we actually.
This one was submitted by Anonymous, so I had to ask.
Oh, I forgot about that. Gab and I actually recently sat down and planned out the whole spring calendar of events. So we have a lot of events that are planned and on the calendar that we are going to do. Some of those events are staple events, like May the 4th, for example, will be there. A new staple. For those of you that remember May the 4th, great event.
Annual.
Yes, and we might be adding an extra stage this year.
Another phase.
Another phase, yes. But no, we have like right off the bat, we have National Popcorn Day, we have some sustainability events, we have some mental health events planned in there. There's other SGA events like our town hall with Sarah Klein. David Zhang is going to be attending this one as well. So we have a bunch of events planned. We also have free spaces for our committees to toss in events. So for example, if Campus Wellness wants to host a mental health event, they can use the free space to put that event in and go all out with it. We also have a great event planning committee with a lot of new senators on it and interested members in it, so that way we will be utilizing that very well, that committee. So overall, I'd say yes, we do have a lot of events planned. A lot of them are relating to our goals. For sustainability, for example, we have a thrift event planned for the spring semester around in the middle of the semester. I mean, the logistics aren't planned for it just yet, but it is on the calendar and it is something that we will be doing.
On that
I have a
similar.
question.
Go ahead.
It's, what, oh my gosh. You obviously represent the student body. How do you plan on like getting input from the student body on your, I guess, performance?
Okay, so I think like one of the great things about like having town halls is that like it's, or even not even just town halls, just like our actual senator or like our SGA meetings is it's open to the public. So all of these events, like anyone can come up to us and like give us feedback. We also have a little like form on our actual door in our office. So that's the second floor of the UCC. People can drop in notes for feedback. I think again, like the important thing is like just making sure we're maintaining our visibility on campus. So we have events such as Cookies with the Cabinet that we had earlier this semester, where people can come up to us and just like express concerns like about Stevens as a whole or just like anything SJ related, where we can answer those questions. So I think the important thing is just like making sure we're visible and people have ways that they can like actually just come up to us in person and ask us questions. And of course we have our office hours. I think almost every single day in the week is like someone in the cabinet is in the office for office hours. So we're definitely like available and want to hear feedback.
Yeah, and I'd say another big thing that we want to push is that public forum in our Senate, so it's open to everyone. Part of like our community outreach goal and things like that is that we want more people not directly involved with student government to come to student government. So we'll do some Instagram campaigns to let people know, maybe post some flyers around campus or just use word of mouth at our events, stuff like that. But we love feedback. It helps us grow it, lets us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. It's very important that we know what we're doing right and wrong so that way we can adapt and fix anything that needs to be changed.
And of course, like, there's like 40 of us, so like, we're obviously not going to know the concerns of the entirety of the student body, so that's where we would hope that like the student body would also do their part and come in and give us that feedback.
So you guys said you were planning a bunch for the spring semester. What event are you guys most excited about?
I'm probably most excited about the sustainability thrift event because sustainability is not something that I'm very passionate about, one of the goals. So again, the logistics aren't planned out for it just yet, but essentially it'll be something where either students will be able to drop off their own clothes and you could thrift around with what other people brought in, or maybe we'll bring in a local thrift shop to campus so students can thrift right on campus, something along those lines. We're looking into what other schools are doing for it, but that's probably one of my most excited for, look forward to events.
I thought you were going to say May the 4th, but I think I'm most excited for the community day that we're planning with SWE. So we're going to be co-sponsoring their K through 12 event, which basically will bring like kids on campus, and we're just going to have a bunch of different events. And I think like I had a similar community day in my high school, so I think since like community outreach is one of our big goals, like that should be really successful, and hopefully we can get athletics involved in just multiple parts of campus.
On the events topic, are there any organizations you're excited to collaborate with?
I'm always excited to collaborate with Trivia Club. Trivia Club is, they're a great organization. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Trivia Club. They do trivia. In case you didn't know. Very good trivia at that though, but no, they're always very eager to participate. So that's definitely one organization that I'm looking forward to. For sustainability events, we just created a new sustainability ad hoc committee, so we're going to be partnering with that committee for a lot of our events. Also maybe other organizations that are relating to sustainability, so for example maybe SAVE or other organizations in that realm, things like that. I think being able to collaborate with our specific events, themes, with organizations that line up with that will be really fun. Like for example, even this December with the mental health event that the Campus Wellness Committee is planning, they're going to look into talking with other organizations in the Arts and Music subcommittee, so very exciting in that regard. But overall, I would say organizations that are related to the purpose of our events.
I'm excited for APO. Like we've co-sponsored a few events with them, but I think something that one of my goals, especially with community outreach, is just like having more ways to volunteer. Like even if you aren't necessarily in APO, just like offering that to the student body, and they always have such a great like presence on campus. So I think combining both of our forces would be really awesome.
I think that's a good place to take a quick break. Grab some food, please, or a lot of food, please. And we'll be back in like 5-10 minutes.
Hey. again, if like you're hungry at all, please take pizza.
Please become, if you're not hungry.
And you're not,
become
yeah,
hungry.
become hungry because there's a lot of pizza still. I'm looking at you, Emily. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'll start off with a question. What is the impression you both hope to leave on SGA? Each. Not both.
Look to leave.
I think for me specifically, I just really want to be like a friendly, resourceful face on campus. So I think I am like pretty involved in multiple facets of campus, but I want to make that even more of an emphasis as president. I want people to be able to come up to me with any concerns, and also hopefully I want people to know like how hardworking I am and that I'm like here for anyone who needs it.
I'd say like personally, internally at the SGA, I want to be able to be seen as like an example of someone that is passionate about the SGA and how they proceed with that passion and how they act on that passion. It would be awesome if, like, say by the end of my VPO term, for example, people that are interested in running for maybe a cabinet position or looking to start an initiative can be like, okay, how did Alex go about it? So, I don't know, that's weird to say, I guess. But just to be able to, like, be an example for other members in the student government, so that way you come into student government maybe not knowing what to do, but you kind of learn a little bit, you see how we do things, and then you're able to easily understand how to proceed with it. And then as for like externally, just leaving the SGA in a better place than it started is always a big thing to do. I guess I haven't been here for that long, but it's something that I would like to do moving forward. Whenever, like this past year, going on to cabinet, student government wasn't where it was now. So obviously it has come a long way. It has come to a better place than it was left off, and I hope to continue that trend moving forward in this term and whatever future endeavors I do with the SGA.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Is there a time within SGA where you dealt with like pushback on an idea, and how did you ensure that the student body voice was heard throughout that entire conversation?
There's definitely has been pushback on certain ideas. I mean, like, I'll say some internal ideas that we've discussed that I can think of right now while I try to think of external ones. One example is like, for me as VPSI, I wanted to change something in the new org process that would make it a lot more easier for student government to manage, but also make it a lot more manageable for student organizations. I just wanted to adjust some of the timeline within our own student government internally. We had an in-depth discussion about it. There were both sides of the argument brought up about how we should approach it this way, or maybe no, we should approach it from this angle. So in that case, we just kind of talked it through and heard out both perspectives in that regard. So I guess overall, whenever something like that does come up, again, I am blanking right now on any other, do you have any?
I can't think of a specific instance, but like Alex said, I think with pushback, it's important that like everyone who's involved in the incident is heard out and, excuse me, I'm also dying. Oh my god. Sorry.
Here, I got it. I know what you're gonna say. It's important that everyone is heard out in the discussion, so that way we don't just jump to the first idea that was brought up. Because like I said earlier, the first idea usually, you okay?
Hold on.
I'll continue. Like I said earlier, the first idea usually isn't always the best idea. Even if it is the idea that we end up going with, hearing other people's opinion brought into it might alter it or might tweak it to make it a little bit better. I have one that there was some pushback on. Right now in student government, we're looking at changing our structure from a by-class system to a per-school system. So that is totally different and what we're not used to, so all good.
I think so.
Cool. That is a totally different system. We had a lot of different opinions on it within our Senate, and again, we had a very in-depth, long discussion about it, hearing how would we benefit from System A versus System B versus System C, and that kind of general idea of looking at different perspectives and coming to a general consensus on it is the path that we like to take whenever we have pushback or multiple opinions on one idea.
Okay, I apologize. Well, I don't know really what else I had to step out, but I think, yeah, again, so just making sure that everyone is heard out in the conversation and just bringing the right people in to help facilitate the conversation. But yeah, just making sure we're hearing like every side.
Jack.
And then in a similar kind of vein to that, you guys have talked a lot about like the successes that you've had so far, but people often shine the brightest when they succeed. Can you give us an example of a time that you failed and how you reacted to that failure?
Good question.
Does this have to be SGA related?
No.
Or like an obstacle that you overcome.
Okay. No, my life has been so easy. I'm just kidding. I guess I could bring it up with athletics. So this is like my first season like actually playing, even though I was a junior. My first year we didn't have a season because of COVID, and then the second year, like maybe a week before our preseason, I found out that I slipped a disc in my back. So I was out for like the majority of the season. I think something that like helped me like just overcome it was being able to lean on like my teammates and like my support system, and also making sure like I was like taking care of myself. I think like with failure, like you need to like have a lot of grace and like make sure like you're doing everything in your power to like just prioritize like yourself and how you're doing. And then eventually, like, you know, like PT, I was able to get better, and then like in the season, like basically like starting positions were already established. So kind of like being able to restructure, like being able to adapt basically is what I'm trying to say. Like restructure your goals and like making sure that you know that it's okay if like something that you had planned doesn't go the way that you want it to go, and being able to kind of like change and like find new goals based on like the position you're in now. So at that point, like I feel like the main thing was just like being there for my teammates and like being like the most supportive that I could be, and then like just being able to after like focus for like my junior season, but mostly being able to adapt, I would say, is one of the best ways to like move past an obstacle or like get past like failure.
Yeah, I'll use an example from what I'm doing right now. So I'm on co-op right now. Getting the co-op though wasn't the easiest thing to do. So as this is my first co-op, so I'm still like early on in my career, I guess you could say. I'm only the second out of 5 years. So when I was applying, I was still a freshman. So not too many companies are interested in that. I applied to a plethora of different companies on Handshake and other methods, and denied or not approved, right? I saw a lot of those. Sometimes, not even just from my experience with the co-op search, but just overall in general, like sometimes you'll be denied or you'll hit a roadblock a lot of times at once, and that can get a little bit discouraging, especially when you're really trying to accomplish something and you kind of need it to happen, or you really want it to happen. Like in my case with the co-op, like if I didn't get this co-op, then that would kind of mess everything else that I had planned out, right? So I was really persistent about it. And I think that's probably what I'll take away from it is, even though I saw so many like red on a Handshake, like, no, you didn't get it, I kept applying to more companies and and I expanded my outlook into other industries. I was able to finally get 2 interviews, and then from one of those interviews I was able to get a co-op, which in the end worked out for me. So throughout that journey though, like I was saying, a lot of roadblocks in a row, but the main point is to persevere through them and kind of, while it is discouraging don't let it get to you, because there are other ways to work around it. It might not be the ideal path that you want to go. Like, I'm not necessarily working in the industry that I would love to work in right now, but it's still a co-op at the end of the day, and I'm still getting good experience from it. I had to approach it from a little bit of a different way, and the outcome isn't exactly what I hoped for, but overall, I still was able to get what I wanted to by not letting it get to me. Had I stopped applying to jobs, I probably wouldn't have got one. So kind of, again, perseverance in the face of obstacles and challenge. Don't let it get to you.
And also, it's like so cliche, but like if one door closes and like another door opens, and if that door doesn't open, there's a window. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always like another way, and like making sure that you know it's okay. Like if things don't go the way that you plan it. I feel like especially as Stevens students, like we're all very meticulous. We want everything a certain way, and it's okay if that doesn't happen sometimes, and just being able to bounce back is the most important part about it.
You guys, can I ask? Okay. First, I just want to say thank you guys for having this event. I think it's really nice to hear from you guys, and both of you are very well spoken, so this is great. My question is for both of you individually. I just am curious about whether it was last year or in your time with the SGA, what is something that either you initiated or you facilitated, something that was changed that you are most proud of? Just want you guys to flex on me real quick.
Something that I spearheaded, it was this past like February, I think, was care letters. So if you're not aware of how it works, basically there's something called the care report that's like through CAPS. So if there's like someone, it can be a friend, it can be just like someone you know at Stevens that like you're a little bit like worried about, you can send in a care report. It's completely anonymous, and then from there the care like office will reach out to the student and then plan a meeting and hopefully get them the help that they need. So at the mental health speaker that unfortunately the first years weren't there for, but Kevin Hines, a suicide survivor, discussed about this idea about a buddy letter. So basically he would like write letters to people who like maybe like weren't like doing too well mentally and just like checking in. And I think like that just kind of like inspired the idea for like a care letter. So even though like we don't necessarily know like who like receives care reports or like who they're written for rather, I like created an event where people would come and like write like letters for individuals with care reports, and like you could sign your name if you wanted to, or if not, but basically just to show that like there are people on this campus that like care about you, whether or not that you know them. And I think that kind of goes back to my point earlier about trying to get more peers involved with CAPS. But yeah, obviously like mental health is something that's really important to this past cabinet, our like future cabinet. So that event was like really important to me because I wanted to find ways to get peers more involved in that process.
So I did a bunch of different goals or initiatives that I had over the last year. One of the ones that I'm really happy with how it turned out is the organization directory. So essentially what it is, it's a PDF of all of our most active organizations on it, and it's just like their social media accounts, their Ducklink account, a brief introduction to what they are, and their logo on it. So I worked on that throughout the whole spring semester and summer leading up to the flock party. So a lot of work went into that, getting the information from all the organizations, contacting them, creating the actual directory, creating the layout for it, getting all the information and putting it into the layout, stuff like that. So there was a lot of tedious stuff that went into it, but I think it came out really well in the end. And something that really made me happy is this past freshman orientation, I was giving one of the orientation presentations on how to be active on campus and how to get involved. And I put a QR code to the organization directory on it. And there were probably like, I don't know how many people in the room, like around 60 people, and there were a couple sessions, 2 sessions. When I put the QR code up, all the freshmen took their phones out and scanned the organization directory, so that was just like a very like yes moment, like seeing that all the work that I had put into it was actually being used and that freshmen were able to actually benefit from it, which is the whole point of it. The whole point was to give specifically first-year students a idea of what we have on campus in a kind of more condensed form than, say, Ducklink, because Ducklink has a lot of great information on it, but it's like all over the place sometimes, so this was a one-stop shop for all the organizations, and I think a lot of students benefited from it. And another great aspect of it is, all the organizations that were on it were also at the flock party. So say a first-year student wasn't able to make it to all the organizations they wanted to at the flock party, or they just weren't able to make it to the flock party, they could fall back onto this organization directory, and all organizations would treat it just like a new student coming to their table at the flock party. So I think it was a great way to get new students involved with student organizations, and something that I'm very proud of.
Any other questions? Do you have any questions that you want to hold the room on?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess from our, for our future term, what is something that, anyone can answer that, you want to see us work on? Or, anything, from our goals that, kind of sparked an idea?
Or it doesn't have to be from our goals.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to see
Have goals for
changed,
us.
any issues you see on campus.
Grant.
So I know you guys mentioned school spirit. I think it's really important because amongst the people I talk to, sometimes I walk past the soccer field and someone's like, oh wow, there's a game. And people don't even know sometimes. And I've had this conversation where people are like, well, you have to look at who's coming to the school. It's more like tech people who are interested in sports. I don't believe any of that. I think me personally, I'm not here for sports, but I would love to go to a basketball game, but if I don't go out to the sign in front of Davis sometimes, I might not know, or there might be an email that gets lost in the fray. So I think that we mentioned co-sponsoring events with sports and athletics. I think that'd be huge because it would overall increase campus activity and campus pride. Because I think for me, one of the things I kind of envy about bigger schools is that they have those huge stadiums where they go and they all come together for a football game. There's a huge activity and camaraderie out of it. So I think if you guys could, like you said, co-sponsor, just do something to try to increase that spirit, that'd be awesome. Especially because I know I'm still going to be around next year too. So I'd also love to see it through me personally, but also I think everyone would appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Snaps for that one. Thank you. We would love to do that as well. That's the whole idea behind the school spirit, is to get more people active. And I like that you brought up that bigger schools have such a great aspect. There's no reason that Stevens can't have that same thing with the games we have. Sure, we don't have a 1 million seated stadium on our campus, but we don't need that, right? We can have it with our stadium. We have t-shirt cannons.
We do have
exactly.
t-shirt cannons.
We have t-shirt cannons. We're gonna have more t-shirt cannons in the future out there. So yeah, we definitely have the means to create that environment. We just need to act upon it.
Also, we have great teams. Look at our men's soccer team. They're ranked 4th in the nation right now. They just had a great win. Shameless plug. Field hockey's pretty cool too. But
look at our field hockey
team. But yeah, I definitely think and I know I think part of the reason those big schools have that big rural school spirit is because of the fact that they have a football team. But I don't think that should limit us, and I think if we're able to pull more people together, it'll also just create a greater sense of community. And when you talk about this your school that you went to, you want to be proud of it. You want to have that sense of community with other people.
Any other ideas?
In a similar vein to, again, school spirit, but in a non-athletic sense, are there any campus traditions that you either want to revive or start?
Yeah, so May the 4th is a new tradition that we started. Yes, a lot of May the 4th supporters here. Hopefully that we can continue to grow and make it even bigger and better and learn from our mistakes that we made last year and improve on those mistakes.
Don't make any mistakes, Alan.
Oh, right. Forget what I just said. No, but seriously, look back on it and see how we can change it and make it better, and then hopefully we can get more of the community involved with it. May the 4th is on the last day of school, which is a great opportunity to get the school all together. But there's also actually, I believe on the Stevens website, there's a list of traditions that the school does, or used to do at least. I don't know if they do all of them, so maybe we can look into bringing some of those back as well.
Yeah, I feel honestly one of the longer standing traditions is just whip pen walk. I feel that's what most people think of. So I'm the undergraduate representative for the Stevens Alumni Association, and that was actually something that the incoming president was talking a lot about. Like, he wants there to be more traditions that are created, and like when people like move on from their time at Stevens, like something that they can think back on and then relate to like new prospective students that like are also doing those traditions. I think something really cool that like Stevens did this year was Fall Festival, like similar to like a homecoming. I think like if that was like an annual thing, I'm assuming it's gonna be annual. I think that'll hopefully be like a tradition that they keep up. But I think we definitely should look into that and like bring back traditions that maybe aren't being upkept right now.
Duck hunt is an SGA run tradition. We did it last year.
Yes.
Oh,
But
sure.
I think that it could be a little better than the blurb on the website. Then.
You should bring back the calculus effigy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. You should bring it back. We used to burn an effigy of calculus. Like everyone, it's like a figure that you burn in a ceremonial fashion. Everyone used to take calculus at the same exact time, like before AP classes and stuff. Now everyone takes them at different times. So all freshmen would finish calculus at the same time. Everyone would, be done with it at the end of the spring semester. And to celebrate, people would make like a figure to symbolize calculus and then burn it on the field.
Well, okay. They also put it on trial, and the defense attorney was the math department, and the math department always lost because the students were also the jurors and the judge.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of people would support burning calculus.
Maybe Cal.
Maybe.
Any other ideas?
Yeah.
That's just one of them takes.
Cal, yeah, that is.
Yeah, college.
But maybe we don't have to burn Cal.
I mean, I like Cal. Like,
No, yeah, I like Cal too.
Moneybags has an idea.
VPO. I know Paulina did a great job as VPO this year, but I know our committees have expanded like exponentially since this new election. So I would love to see maybe like, I think our committees are a little, not unorganized, but a lot of weight falls on committee chairs, and it's hard for us to reach out to our like committee members. So I would love to see like, I don't know, like maybe like finding more ways, like maybe we have liaisons to like other things, like expanding what our committee members do in our committees, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I've definitely seen a lot of that too. Like a lot of the weight has been placed on the committee chairs. So we could definitely look into, we're actually talking about it recently actually, ways that we can distribute the load and make sure that senators in committees know what they're actually supposed to do on that committee, because maybe some senators see their name on the list and think like, oh, I'm part of X committee, cool. But you actually need to do stuff for that committee. So we'll work on ways to actually formally like introduce that, hopefully better, and continue that, like continued education, I guess, of how you can actively participate in your committee, and then also ways that the committee chairs can also actively work with their members and be proactive about getting them involved and things like that. So yeah, good idea, I agree.
I don't know if this is feasible, but like for increasing attendance to things like sports games, can you guys can we do like tailgates like before the game? Like, is that feasible?
Yeah, I think that's definitely feasible.
Is that like something you would do?
We have a direct
Olaf
response.
has a direct response.
Can you?
I'm using Robert's rules. You see this?
Yes.
Was I supposed to use Robert's rule?
So, this could be something that Colin, our new promotions committee liaison, could talk to with athletics, because athletics has created a committee now where they wanted us, like some student representation about how to promote athletics events better. And so like setting up some sort of tailgate would be something that we could do for certain sporting events.
Nice.
I mean, I think also for the SGA sponsored field hockey game, we tried to do like a tailgate situation, but I think what happened was the pizza was just handed out like on the stand.
Well, there was also a tailgate happening after at that one, I'm pretty sure, right?
Well, field hockey.
Yeah, we always
have
have
Yeah, but that's
Oh,
not
they
what
do,
I'm.
okay.
No, I know you mean.
Not
So
like
we
that.
did host like a tailgate before, but it was like, I don't think many people knew about it. It was on a long weekend. It was, I don't really know what was going on. There was a lot of things. It
Yeah.
was a lot of things and it wasn't a lot of things.
It was a good learning experience for us
Yeah.
on how to proceed. Like a lot of things went the way that we didn't think they would for that specific, because we had one co-sponsored event with athletics. There's a lot of things that we didn't like the way it went, but looking back at it, like, it's a great learning experience that way. For the next one, we know what we could do better in certain aspects of it.
To answer your question, yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Maybe.
So, like, what do you guys think about the possibility of, like, the way D&I is a committee of the Student Government Association, but at events like the block party, it sits independent, right? It's its own thing, and it has its own message. And I think that there's other committees in the SGA, such as, say, government and community relations. That's something that people are probably independently interested in, maybe not associated with SGA, but just on its own. And I think the same can be said for committees like ACDET and Bears, or in the future, hopefully if our ad hoc committee becomes a full committee, the sustainability committee. What do you guys think about the idea of, obviously SGA maintaining, say at an event like the block party, SGA would obviously have its table, but what about using events like that and occasions like that to promote committees independently, to kind of promote more students joining SGA, maybe not as senators, but just in the capacity of being a part of this committee and participating in something they're more interested in?
I mean, I feel like that's pretty similar to like the mini org fairs that we did, but just more of like an internal sense.
So yeah, I mean, ideally, outside members from SGA can participate on these committees, and that would be great if we could get more involvement with that. I think a good way that we could approach that maybe is by, so we've had committees hold standalone events, like GovCom did their elections campaign event, Campus Wellness is going to do their events, stuff like that. So maybe at some of those standoff events, we could also promote the committee more in those ideas, because like, I wasn't at the GovCom event for the whole entire time, so I'm not sure exactly how it went, but maybe we could have like a GovCom like handout or flyer at that event, so that way when we do have these one-off events that are by the committees, people can see like, oh, this specific committee of the SGA planned it, I like this idea, they can get more into it.
Also, like, obviously we have like a calendar like for events for next semester, but there are spaces for other events. So if that's something you're interested in putting together, I mean, as event planning chair, I think that would be great. I think we do obviously lack like non-senator committee members, so I do like the idea, and if that's something that you're interested in planning, I would be for it.
And then as for like the flock party, we could potentially have other committees do it. We would have to look into the logistics of it, like which ones would be there and how many tables would that add on, and if it would be worth it for certain committees. So we could look at it like a one-by-one basis, and potentially at the next one, maybe we could have some extra tables for maybe GovCom or sustainability, whatever maybe we would look at it. But yeah, potentially, we'll look into it.
Any other ideas? Yes.
I feel like promoting stuff that's like happening in Hoboken as a whole, and like for example, like they take back the night walk, because like that happened on Stevens campus, but I feel like we didn't have a lot of student representation, so I feel like promoting that type of stuff would also like get that stuff well known around campus, instead of it just being like primarily Hoboken residents and not really anything from Stevens. So it's like having the ability to give people on campus like knowledge about what's going on around Hoboken instead of just what's on campus.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's like something that we want to focus on with our goal too, because like you said, like we obviously, like it's great that people in the community that are involved, but like we are such a big part of the Hoboken community. Like, I mean, sometimes you'd be shocked that people don't even realize that there's like a university in Hoboken, but yeah, I think like getting involved in that is like something that like we really want to focus on and is like really important.
I guess like building off of that with Stevens Pride and GovComs, how does that relate to building Stevens Pride in Hoboken, so people aren't surprised when they find out that there's a university here?
Good point. I guess like just as we work towards that goal, hopefully naturally people in Hoboken will see that there's a university here and will kind of maybe become more interested in it. If we start to push ourselves more out into the community, hopefully that will be reciprocated and the community will want to naturally lead more into it. I mean, I'm not too sure, maybe you have a better explanation because we haven't necessarily done too much of it yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think, like, the big thing is just, like, making ourselves more well-known. Like, something that I, like I mentioned with, hopefully co-sponsoring with APO is I think there's much more room for, like, students to, like, you get involved with service projects. So I think if we could, you know, like, get involved in service projects in the Hoboken community, not necessarily affiliated with Stevens, like, by, like, word of mouth, like, we'll just become more well-known. And also maybe finding, like, different, like, facets of the Hoboken community and, like, inviting them to, like, certain events. So, like, hopefully, like, the community day would really, like, increase, like, our visibility in the community.
Oh, sorry. Do you guys have any like specific ideas of like who or like what people you want to reach out to in Hoboken to like start that like dialogue and conversation about community outreach?
Yeah, so I know in regards to like the Gov and Com section, so part of their name is community, so they're also big into it, but I know a lot of the local representatives in Hoboken are very much interested in speaking with the Stevens students. Greg Townshend, who is the Director of Corporate or Community Outreach, I forget what his exact title is, but he's also very eager. So we have people interested in higher up Stevens administration, and there's also people that are already interested out in Hoboken. So we have the resources, we just need to like go out and grab the resources and bring them all together and kind of start there. So I think one place definitely would be like Town Hall, seeing if there are interested representatives or maybe members of the community that can come talk to Stevens, maybe working with the local high school. I know that's been brought up in the past in student government. Just other outlets, if we could do like with the community event, that would be a great way to get out there. Hoboken puts on a lot of festivals. Maybe we could somehow get the SGA to participate in one of those festivals, things like that.
You stole my Greg.
Yeah.
But I mean, when Gavin and I met with Greg, something that he mentioned is how in like local elections, like I don't like sometimes like students don't realize like how much power we have to like change the trajectory of the entire election. So I think like hosting a town hall and like getting local representatives is super important because obviously like what's going on like locally is going to affect us on campus. So being aware of what's going on, and also little plug, like if you're able to or if you haven't already, definitely go out and vote tomorrow. It's really important. But yeah, I think exactly what Alex said, like I will echo that completely. I think it was perfect.
Any other ideas, or I'll ask a closing question and you can give some closing comments. Jen?
Well, I'll ask one like more hard question. Varden and Sarah both live, breathe, and die by the strategic plan. Have you read it?
I've not read the whole plan, no.
I've not read the whole plan either.
I've skimmed the overview of it, I'll say. But
the one that I had was like 18.
Oh, that's the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know so like I said, I haven't looked too much into it. I know there are some like overarching goals to include more. Sarah was talking about this at Gavin Sarah's town hall, on like to be more student involved and get more student input in it and be more student centered. I think that's something that as SGA we could kind of jump on that board and kind of help be a, what's the word I'm looking for? To help get the word from the student body into like that upper administrative area, especially since now that it's something that if it's written in the plan, they're probably going to stick to it and do it. So if it's written in Word, like we can really push on that and act on it. I would have to read more into it to get better ideas how we can interact with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just like Alex mentioned, like if it's probably like if it's written out, like it's probably not going to be much of a budge, but basically being able to do like if something comes up, like being able to bring it up to the right people, and hopefully, like Alex said, like be that voice for the student body and help like make any change or facilitate that in whichever way we can.
Any other final questions? Okay, what what are you most excited about in your new positions, hypothetically?
I mean, I'm really excited to just like get to work with administration a little bit more. I think like with field hockey this past semester, I wasn't really able to make like many of those meetings. So I'm excited to like form like an even closer relationship. Like obviously I've worked with them in the past, but I'm excited to like work with them on a deeper level. And I'm excited to hopefully continue to help the SGA grow and maintain our visibility, and also just become a bigger presence in the Hoboken community.
Yeah, so my new hypothetical position would be more internal as opposed to external, which I have right now, so it would be a complete shift. So I'm very much looking forward to kind of getting a new lens on student government from the inside view. Some things that I want to do, like specifically for my VPO requirements that I have to do, I would love to interact more with the Senate and the senators, and I'd also love to see how we're doing as a Senate and compare that to what other universities and schools are doing. I've already been doing that a lot. I've been in contact with a lot of other student governments around New Jersey. We just created a list, shout out to Rocco, who created a 1,500 list of all the schools in America that have student governments. So I will definitely be reaching out to all of them and talking to them, seeing how they incorporate it.
Send a million emails tonight.
Yes. So I'm very excited to be talking with other student governments and seeing how we can improve our own student governments, see where we're lacking, see where we're doing well, and how we can pass that information on to other student governments. We're looking into hosting our own student government town hall right on Stevens, which I am very excited for and I hope can happen. What did I say? Yes, thank you. Conference. I mentioned it several times before that we attended conferences. We're looking to host a conference in the future, which would be amazing to do. So really just kind of get more into the internals and structure of student government. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Cool. Does anyone else have anything, or can I go to?
Sure.
I forget what's next.
I think it's just
Give you a sneak peek.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Alex and I are going to be holding interviews if we get elected in, hypothetically. We're going to be holding interviews for the following cabinet positions. So if these positions interest you at all, I would urge you to speak to the current position holders and Alex and I and fill out the form. It's on our Instagram. We can send it in general Slack. If you need the form, like, you can also just ask me for it. And we will be holding the interviews after Thanksgiving break. So obviously we can't do it without you. So if you're interested, please let us know.
Yeah, and I'll just add on, like, going off what Polina's saying, we can't do it alone. So we need our cabinet to help facilitate things, but we also need our senators to do all the initiatives and all the goals and help work on it and do the requirements. Without senators and without active members that are not me and Paulina, nothing is going to get accomplished. As much as we are passionate, or as much passion we have for SGA, and as much as we want to see change, we can't do anything without senators and without active, I don't know how to phrase this, without the student body, I'll say. We can't do it without the student body being active in student government. So yes, we have a lot of cool ideas and we want to see a lot changed, but utmost, is that the right phrase? Utmost? Yeah. Utmost, we want to see involvement from the rest of the student government, from our senators, making sure that our senators are working on the initiatives, collaborating. If any ideas come up, talk to us, talk to other senators about it. One thing that I kind of noticed in the last year is that a lot of times senators might wait for a cabinet member to come up with an idea and then approach the cabinet member. Senators are their own ideas and act on them. If you see something on campus that you specifically want changed, you are able to do it. That's the great thing about being a senator and being part of the student government. There's not one person that's like, has all the ideas, right? I definitely don't have all the ideas. Polina doesn't have all the ideas. It's really up to all of us to kind of collaborate and come up with the ideas ourselves and work together and share ideas, stuff like that. So all in all, to summarize what I was just saying, we can't do it without any senator, without the senators. We can't do it without the rest of our cabinet. We can't do it alone. So.
Also, something that I wanted to add on is even if you're not a senator, like if there's something that comes up, also if you're not a senator and you're interested in cabinet, you can definitely still fill out the form. But yeah, like we can't do it without you guys. we really want this to be a successful next term, and we're really excited to hypothetically get elected. So, I don't know. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate all the questions. I think this was really effective. It was really nice hearing from everyone. Here's a nice picture of Alex and I from our little photo shoot for our Instagram.
That's us thinking of all our ideas.
Yeah, so we're really excited, and also don't hesitate to reach out to either of us if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.